and to find him the greatest human achievement. Like, I'm sorry, if you feel like you haven't done anything in your life, but you know Jesus, says it here, it's the greatest human achievement.
Yeah.
Imagine having a relationship with the King of Kings, the highest authority ever to exist. Like, I used to believe that I was unlovable. And in the last few months, getting to know God and falling in love with God, and realizing that the other day that I said I love you for the first time out loud, because I don't say that phrase very often or very easily to God, because I realized I never said it, and it's like I could feel it. I could feel His love in my heart. I actually felt what love felt like for the first time. Obviously, I know you love your family and stuff, but it's a different love.
It is, yeah.
And I felt almost the unconditional love. And even that, before God will gift you with your husband, He wants you to know His love, because He wants you to set the standard of love, so you know what you're worth, because He knows what you're worth, and worthy of, not really worth, but worthy of.
Yeah.
So, like, and I just feel like in me falling in love with God, and having a relationship with Him, my first ever relationship, I mean, how cool is that? Like, my first, you might not be able to see it physically,
my first relationship ever is with the King.
is with the King. Yeah. Like, that is so cool. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care who you are or what you say, but I love it. And I do believe that, like you said, when you focus your eyes on Him, you start to see things through His eyes, through His sight. And it's so cool, and it's like almost like you have a veil on yourself that the enemy slowly puts there, and he slowly builds this wall over your life with telling you and feeding you these lies, which are your false identities, which you choose to believe. God's never going to tell you that you are unlovable, or you're not worthy, or you're not enough. That is not from God. That is not from our King, and that is not from our Father. Like, and yeah, don't allow it to affect you. And even now, like, I am at a stage in my life where for the first time ever, I fully love myself. I love who I am. I love everything that I am. My quirks, my insecurities that I used to have, like, I love them, okay? Because God picked that for me. God chose that for me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to break His heart every time I put myself down and I self-sabotage myself.
Yeah.
No. Like, He's given us everything, yet we constantly like let Him down. Not let Him down, but like not disappoint Him either, but like just break His heart. We sadden His heart. And I'm like, no, like, and also it only affects yourself. You're the only person that when you are like that and you believe the lies, you're the only person that you damage yourself.
It doesn't
no one else is
affect
affected
everyone
anyone else. Yeah. So say no to that and say yes to God. And in that, God is confidence. I always thought, like, I never had confidence growing up, and I used to struggle to talk to guys. I used to struggle. Yeah, used to. Keyword there. Struggle to talk to guys, and it still, like, comes up. Like, I'm not this perfect person. I'm not just, like,
Yeah.
But I used to struggle about these things. I used to struggle to, like, speak in front of people, make eye contact, and in focusing everything on God and loving God, and choosing to love God, and choosing to believe that if I have God, I have everything I need, and trusting that as well. He just gives, it's like, He's given me all these other things of my confidence comes from Him.
Yeah.
Because I'm not having to impress anyone else. God knows I don't have to impress God. God loves me the way I am.
He made you.
He
like
made
that.
you.
Yeah.
And in that, I want to obey Him, because why would you not? Why would you not? He's given you everything. Why would you not want to listen to what He says? He knows best. He knows best. Like, all the things that He says in the Bible. I'm not in a prison. In a song they say, a prison's a hotel when you know who's got the keys. Okay, it's a song by Sons of Sunday, in a song called "Running with Angels," and it's so true. It's like, no, I'm here. God's given me these rules. I'm here, but He's given me the key. I have the choice to break them.
Yeah.
But why would I want to do that? Why would you want to hurt someone you love? Like, genuinely, like you're. So it's like, but He's just given me, like, in that, I'm like, no, if I look for my confidence in God, I carry myself differently. I 100% am a different person to who I was 7 months ago,
Mm.
because I'm not looking for my worth in other people. I know where my identity lies, and it lies in Jesus Christ. And and on that, another thing that's like a struggle where there is comparison. We all know the saying of comparison is a thief of joy. And it's like so funny because if you're at church and there's a guy that you like, whatever, and suddenly this new girl comes and you're like, oh my word, I don't look like that.
Yeah.
Like, we look very differently. Like, how could he not go for someone like that, or whatever it may be? And it's like, no, because I know I'm worthy. I know I am wife material.
Yeah.
Okay. And the right man is going to see that. And if he doesn't
will.
see that, then he is not the right man.
Yeah.
And it's also like we were talking about, which was very good, is like this veil of like that believing where God won't make a way, where you think there's no way. He's a God that parted the sea for Moses and the people to leave. You don't think he's going to bring a man to you, okay? Like, amen. I'm like so passionate about this right now. Guys, you don't understand. This last video that we filmed, it felt like we were both saying we both felt like uneasy. It wasn't flowing.
Yeah.
And now, yo. But it's literally like, he will make a way. Trust him.
He will.
Trust him. And that, also, your husband might be at that church. He just hasn't taken the veil off to see him. You might be friends with your future husband. You don't know this. So if you think about, if you're watching a play, okay, and there's behind the curtain is the stage setup, and they're changing sets, and you can't see that. And that, I feel like, is equivalent to the same thing as like, you see this guy that's your friend, and you don't know what God's doing personally. You don't know, there's stuff that, like, just like we said, like there's battles that you fight every day that no one knows about. And it's like, he could be doing stuff, God could be doing stuff in his spiritual side, and same thing for you, and you don't even know it, like, and it's like you can't see it, but you're like looking at this curtain, you're like, there's so much happening behind the scenes, but you're like, I don't, like, Lord, like, there's nothing happening here, like, I can't see anything, like, oh, we're just friends or whatever it may be. But then suddenly when it's ready and at the right time, music starts playing and the veil is removed, the curtains are opened, and you're gonna both start seeing each other in a different light. Or it might be he might start seeing you first and then might unlock something in you, or whatever it may be. But it's like, you don't know. So don't ever say that, oh my word, Lord, I don't see any guy here that's for me, or I don't, because he could be hiding him from you. He could be right in front of your face, or she could be right in front of your face, and he could be hiding him from you. Because at his timing, he'll unlock it, and could be on his timeline. So also don't have these set timelines of you, of believing that you're gonna have this is gonna happen, I'm gonna get married at this time, or this year, this or whatever. That's God's in control. Plan. You're not in control
unless God is specifically like giving you a date.
Then, that's different. If
like,
he's spoken to you,
you can. But if not, you can plan all you want. But that doesn't mean God's gonna follow your timeline. He's gonna follow his own timeline.
Because it also could blind you from
actually
meeting the girl earlier than you should have, but you're delaying it because you're so like shut off to not having a relationship. And I believe that, like, a guy, I don't know if I've said this already, but I saw a thing that a man of God, or like a Christian man or a man, will prepare himself. If he's not ready, but he meets the right girl, he'll prepare himself for that girl.
He'll get ready.
And it's like, but don't be so shut off that you're like, God has called me in my singleness. Because first of all, God often sends it when you're not looking. Second of all, don't be so shut off because, she could be right in front of you, and you just, but then also, like, build the friendship. Like we spoke about, I'm pretty sure we spoke about, like, build the friendship. Because that is the foundation. So even if you're not sure, if you're not ready, you don't feel like you're ready, build the friendship and go from there. Because love conquers all, truly. Real love. And
and I don't know what we've said, because the video keeps cutting. But when I just wanted to build on, like, what we spoke about earlier, is like having a trust in God versus having a trust in man type of thing. And it links back to your worth and what you believe your worth is. Because if you have your trust in people, like if you are looking to your friends or the people around you to determine what your worth is, like, okay, they see me as beautiful on the scale of 10 or whatever, that's what I am, then that's the wrong view to have. And you'll always, if the people around you don't like worthy you, they don't think that you're worthy enough, then you're going to believe that too. So if you don't have your trust in God, then that's like you won't love yourself how you're supposed to.
Amen. And
and
you
you
had that
can
rock analogy that
yeah
because I don't
so
think you said that.
yeah, so ultimately you must always just keep remember that you are beautifully, you are fearfully, you are wonderfully made, which is from God, and it's not on human standards, it's on God's standards that you are beautiful and you are fearful and you are wonderful. And we went to a camp, and it's a father-daughter camp that we went on, and they did this analogy with the girls and the dads, and every girl got a rock, and they gave a scale. There was like a scale on the floor, and they said, okay, put your rock where you believe you are, where you see you are.
Where you measure yourself.
Yeah, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how beautiful, how worthy, how good looking, whatever it is, how much you see yourself, put your rock there. So if it was like 1 to 10, if you think you are worthy enough, but just like self closer to 10. If you have like a low self-esteem, you don't actually see yourself as beautiful because of what you've based others' opinions of yourself on, then you put yourself like closer to the 1. And so we did this activity, and all the girls put their rocks down, and they were more like in the middle. There wasn't
middle
any
to
like
lower.
Yeah, there wasn't any like, oh, I think I'm a 10 type of thing, like I'm beautiful type of thing. They were more like in the middle, closer to the 1. And they said, okay, now dads, pick up your daughter's rock and put the rock where you see your daughters. And all of the dads got up, they picked up these rocks, and they kept walking past the 10. And they didn't put it on the scale of 1 to 10 because your dad doesn't see you on a scale of 1 to 10. He doesn't see you based on what others see you like, based on worldly views. He sees you because he loves you. And he sees you as the beautiful child of God that you are. He sees you as his child.
His love,
it's such a fatherly love. And so these dads just walked past the 10, and then they eventually stopped and they put the rocks down, and it was way past the scale of human worth, like the scale we use as humans to define ourselves and identify ourselves. And Hannah mentioned,
scale.
It's not the scale to look at it. Hannah mentioned in the same way God does that, but even more, because physically the dad had to stop somewhere. You can't just keep walking, so they put the rocks down, but God goes beyond that boundary. He just keeps walking, and he sees you in his eyes, and he doesn't see you how others see you. He sees you how he sees you, and exactly how he made you, because he made you exactly how he wanted. He made you with this color hair, he made you like this, and he called you his child. You are his child. He chose you, he made you, and he made you beautiful. He made you wonderful. He made you like in his image, literally. So when you go and you doubt yourself, you are literally made in the image of God. You are doubting God. You are
doubting, and you're breaking his heart in the doubting.
Because if you're an artist and you go put your art on display, and then people come and they criticize it and they like nitpick at it, you would feel bad. And it's the exact same. That's how God sees it when you go and you're like, oh, I don't like this about myself or whatever. God's like, I literally made you like that. I made it, like I counted the hair of your head. Like I made every detail, every fingerprint on your hands are different. Like he literally
and he did it
took
all for
time.
purpose.
Yeah, he took time, he thought about it, and he made you intentionally. And it's not on a human scale. It's on a godly scale that we'll never understand. So it's your worth. If you trust in God, you'll start to see yourself how God sees you, and you'll start to love yourself, which is you can't do that if you're viewing yourself on human views.
So. And like on that, it's like so funny because like as friends, you know, you kind of like pick up each other's like sayings that you say. Like I always say like mate, like you know, and there's so many people now that have like I've become close with or friends with that have started using mate. People that I'm not even like that close with yet, and they use mate, and I'm like mate. So like, and that's so cool. Anyway, but it's like, but then there's some things that you do that I pick up, like, you know, there's so many things, and it's what happens when you're around them, like you become, you know, similar to them, like you connect things. It's the same thing with God. When you focus on God and that you are looking at God and realize that God is all you need in this world. If you have God, you have everything. Job had lost everything, yet he still had God. He was still faithful. He was still trusting, and in that God rewarded him in his obedience and his faith. But it's like you still have everything, you know. And when you truly believe that, and that when you truly you know, focus on God and just look at God, like, you know, that you're almost so focused on God that you can't see anything around you.
Everything else
goes away. All the insecurities, everything from you falls away. It gets burnt away, you know. You stop idolizing things. You stop what's it called? And also you just ultimately start seeing yourself through his eyes. You start looking at the mirror at yourself, and you stop seeing the old you, that you stop seeing how God created you to be, and how, and you actually start your heart changes to be thankful and graceful towards yourself, because let's be honest, we are our own worst enemies.
Yeah.
And we are the hardest always on ourselves. And you almost, God gives you grace for yourself, and grace is sufficient for everything. And by the grace of God you're here, and by the grace of God, just grace is just, we love grace. Also, my name means grace, by the way. But it's like, when you, but it's the same thing with the whole like mate thing. When you pick up things, when you start getting so close to God in a relationship, because it is a relationship, then you're gonna start seeing everything how He sees things. You start hearing things how He hears things. Like, when you get to know someone like that, you on an intimate level, and it's so cool, and it's just so like,
it's such a privilege that we can have that relationship with the King of Kings, with
like,
literally the Creator.
To do that? Yeah,
we can have such an intimate relationship with Him.
Yeah,
so
it's so cool, and it's so cool, and it's like, we were also talking about relationships earlier, and we mentioned something in our video that didn't record, that it's like, going back to the veil thing. And it's like, at your church, you might be like, I used to pray a few months ago. I got to a point where I was like, so I think I mentioned already, I've never had a boyfriend. I've never been liked, or someone that I know of, like, And first of all, growing up, that was, on the confidence wise, was not helpful, But now we're all good, because I don't find my identity in that, and my worth is not in that, and the right man will see your worth.
Yeah.
But basically, I was saying how, like, I was asking God in worship at church, and like every worship session, I just suddenly got this, like, my heart ached for it, and I was like, it was like a genuine, like, I was like, Lord, please send me. I mean, send him. I was saying send me as well, but I was like, send him. Like, please, Lord, like, send him to me. I feel like the time is now. Like, I feel like this is it. Like, please send him to me, okay? Didn't think of anything much of it, whatever. Then I realized, he who finds a wife finds a good thing, okay? I'm going to be sent to him. He's not going to be sent to me. Okay. God's going to place me, just like Ruth. Ruth is like one of my favorite books in the Bibles, in the books in the Bible. And Ruth was sent to Boaz. Ruth wasn't sent. She was put in a place where she was put in his environment. Okay. She wasn't from his environment. She was placed in his environment.
She was sent to him.
And we don't know how long she was working on gleaning on the farm, on the crops, before Boaz actually noticed her. But at the right time, even that, Boaz noticed her. And then also, like, another conversation we've been having is that we like, oh, but you mustn't chase a guy, the guy must chase you. But it's like, yes, I agree with that, okay? But I'm also like, doesn't mean we must sit still. It doesn't mean we must sit here. Like, you still got to make an effort. You still got to let him know that you're interested, okay? And like, if you think about, Ruth made the first move. Ruth went and slept at Boaz's feet, and I'm not saying going to sleep at his feet. Now that'd be a bit creepy. That'd be a bit weird. Okay, but Boaz went and slept at his feet, and it's like that in our world that we live in, because it's different. Could be like inviting him to do something in like a group, and not just him, but like something so small like that. Yet it's opening it's opening you up, and also like the prayer to like I've always been told that I can be quite closed off to guys, and like, I never used to be able to talk to guys, but we have revived that. Well, God has revived that. I haven't revived that. And it's like, first of all, the reason I couldn't talk to them is because I was idolizing them, because I was putting them above me, because I didn't think I was worthy enough. Therefore, I was idolizing them. So I killed that. No. So anyway, but what was I saying? We're talking
with Ruth.
Ruth, yeah.
Yeah, so just it's the same thing. It's like, you mustn't just step back and be like, okay, I'm gonna do nothing.
Yeah.
Sometimes God says, okay, go invite him or whatever. Go do something, and then he'll make the big move.
Yeah.
So it's like, the girl's always like, oh, you should make the first move.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but sometimes you have to make that first step in order for him to then make a step.
Yeah, because we forget they're human too, and they also get nervous. And they also like don't like it's the second most vulnerable thing you can do, like the being in a relationship and stuff. And I believe like, it's hard for them, and I feel like we like I admit I always used to like, but he's the man, he must just suck it up and do it. But like, no, he is also a human, just like me. He has the same feelings as me, same like emotions as me.
Yeah.
Like, give him grace, be graceful to him, and but just don't shut yourself off, and if you don't know how or something, pray and ask God. Be like, Lord, I pray that you, through his eyes, Lord, that you open me up so that I don't shut myself off at him, and that, like, and that he just is in control of the situation. But we do believe that you sometimes have to just show you're interested. Don't just be like, don't sit at home and be like, oh my word, upset because I like this guy but he hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
Or and I must admit it's hard, like if you believe that, if you've been told, like, you believe God's told you that that's your husband, and now he's got to pursue you. You're like, oh,
it's hard. You just want to.
It's difficult.
You want to do something. I can imagine, you want to say something.
But you can't, because you both have to be ready. And if you're not, he's not gonna. Maybe he hasn't had that shift yet. Maybe his veil and his eyes hasn't been lifted yet. And you got to wait, and God's in control. And once you're okay with that, first of all, it takes so much more off your shoulders, because you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to stress about that. It's not in your control. It's in God's control. And then something you said about Naomi, which was really good.
So it's linking back to, like, trusting God is Naomi was the one who told Ruth to go into the field, to go sleep at Boaz's feet. Like, she had this guidance, and just this guidance from Naomi, which led her to doing those actions. And it's the same way that God is for us. God, like, you mustn't just, okay, I like this boy, I'm gonna go do something. Like, you must actually put your trust in God and not in the people. And if you like, okay, I trust God, and like, if God says go do this, go invite him, go say hi, go do whatever type of thing, if you have that trust in God, then it'll lead to how Boaz and Ruth led to. Like, it'll get there. But like, Naomi was almost like a voice of wisdom for Ruth. She led her to that, and ultimately it was because Ruth was so faithful. Because in the hard time when Ruth and Naomi's husband had died, like, Ruth stayed. Instead of going back to her comfort, instead of going back to her family, her own family, she stayed with Naomi. And even in the hard times, I mean, they lost their whole family. Like, and it's the same way, if you are faithful to God, if you believe in God, if you trust in God instead of other people, then he'll ultimately lead you, and he'll allow you to make that step in order to get to where he wants you to be. So
he also could send you a friend like Naomi to help you in that leading you, and because sometimes he knows you're not going to do it alone. And also in that, I'm like, if you know, so like, going back to, like, if you think you believe that God told you who your husband is, and change your prayer to not like, Lord, like, tell him to take me on a date, tell him to do that. Like, don't change it to, no, okay, Lord, I want it in your timing. I pray for the opportunity. Please set up the opportunity for me to get to know him. Set up opportunities that aren't like out of the, like, they can be out of the blue, but like, that aren't like weird. Like, you're not just going up to him and you're not really friends with him and being like, hey, do you want to hang out? Like, no, but like, pray for the opportunities, because trust me, God will deliver. God will deliver. And if it's the right man for you, God will deliver. The right girl for you, God will set it up. But then also to not miss opportunities in that, because there might be something that something small, like how Naomi stepped to the thing, is like inviting him. Like, you might be like, oh no, that's scary. Like, no. Do it. And also, you got nothing to lose. Literally nothing to lose. If it's not him, that means God has someone better for you out there. And like, if you thought he was the best thing for you,
and it's,
could you imagine what God has for you if it's not him? Like,
And also, like, going back to trust, like, Naomi told Ruth to go and do that, and if she didn't trust Naomi, she wouldn't have done that. Trust God, and you will get to where he wants you to be.
Obey his
voice. God saw that Ruth and Boaz were going to be together, but Ruth didn't see that. So if you can't see it now, but you still trust in God because he can see where it's going.
And if you don't see a way, don't be like, no, Lord, it can't be that, because I don't see how it's going to work. I don't see it. There's no way. Do we know who God is?
He is the
way, the truth, and the life. Okay, like, he'll make a way where there is no way. Like, he's the man. Well, not the man. He's the God. I don't know if I said this earlier, but he's the God that parted the sea. Is the Red Sea? He parted the sea,
literally,
the ocean. Imagine trying to escape, and being like,
I got nowhere to go.
And then suddenly the sea, the ocean, you know how heavy water is, now the volume of water, like the power that volume of water has, just suddenly starts to split like it's nothing.
Like,
don't limit God. Don't
Yeah.
limit him. He is a God of all things. And yeah, and I just pray that you just keep trusting and keep hoping and believing, and you guys have got this. You've got
Yeah.
this. If you're going through something now, like, look for the evidence, look for the proof that God is with you, because he is with you. You see that? Trust the seeds you are planting. That's what it says here. Okay. But yeah. But anyway, thank you so much,
Yeah.
guys, and
We'll see you
we'll
next
see
time.
you next time. Hope you enjoy. Thank you. Also, just to cut this in, it says here, go through what you go through.
Mm-mm.
Grow through what you go through. Okay. And this is not supposed to be here, and I forgot it was here, and I just thought. But like, that's so true.
Yeah.
Grow through. Everything is done for a reason. Everything's a lesson.
Mm.
Go through it. Look for the lesson. Learn
Yeah.
it, and be ready for the test. Because you've got
Yeah.
this. We believe in you, and God believes in you, and God loves you.
Yeah.